So it's really great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. You got lucky. I was meant to be in Silicon Valley this week, but I was able to make someone other go there, and I could come here. So because I love Italy, and especially the food and wine.
So you're in the right place.
I'm really in the right place. So today I'm going to be talking about the growing role of Internet of Things in the packaging industry. How many of you know Internet of Things as a kind of concept? Well, most of you. That's good place to start. My name is Manninen, or most of the people, for example, in our London office call me Sammy because it's way easier than Samuli. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Magic Ad, and we are building a concept called Internet of Packaging. If we first start to look at the value chain that you probably most of here know, the current value chain of packaging. We have the material manufacturers, then we have the printers or the converters, then we have normally a brand that uses the packaging, then we have a consumer. That's what we have today in most of the cases. I know this is really simplified version of it. But what is actually Internet of Packaging? Well, we have had for a long time now Internet of Manufacturing. So the manufacturing machines that actually make, for example, packaging or lots of other stuff are being connected, and they have been connected for 15 years now. They communicate with Internet and so on and so on. So now we have also the Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is basically the devices that are always connected to Internet, and they can communicate with different devices or with consumers. But in the between, when you manufacture something, you normally need to pack it, and then you need to deliver it to the consumers. In between, in many cases, packaging is involved. It goes from manufacturing throughout the logistics into the hands of consumers. And what we are doing, and what is Internet of Packaging, it's a way to connect those packages or make them, enable them to communicate with the manufacturing machines, but also the devices that we use, for example, smartphones and so on. So that's, in a broad sense, is Internet of Packaging. What it does for the value chain, it brings up a kind of new layer on top of the existing value chain. So now we will have also companies like us who are building the core kind of platforms on top of the existing value chain. And then we will also have smart device manufacturers. Let's take, for example, Samsung, who does refrigerators. Now they're doing also smart refrigerators. That will eventually be able to communicate with the packaging. We will have more advertising agencies and creative agencies involved in packaging because the value of packaging will increase a lot. And then we will hopefully have also application developers working with the data that we will input into the packaging. So that's kind of the broad change in the value chain of packaging. And it's for the packaging industry, it's going to be really interesting change because you need to be able to work with different kind of players you haven't been used to work with. I don't know how much do you work with advertising agencies or software companies like us or this kind of different stakeholders. So that's going to be a massive transformation in the partnerships that you're going to have in the future. So what does the IOP then make possible? It will give a unique ID to every package in the world. So we're talking about really high volumes. A few weeks back, I was giving a keynote in Malmö, Sweden. And before me, there was Paul Ershaw from Tesco. You probably all know Tesco, one of the biggest retail chains. And he said that there is 2 billion packages going through Tesco every day, which roughly means that there is 700 billion packages going through Tesco in a year. Just Tesco. So the volumes are really huge. So what we will do is give every one of those a unique ID, and then we will start connecting different kind of info into that unique ID. So we can have product information, and as we're talking about sustainability and food waste and so on, we could, for example, have the expiration date of food. So when we know that the food is going bad, for example, if it's in the retail store, we can say that, okay, this food is going to go bad, here's a discount, come get it. And when all the packages are unique, we can also manage the pricing dynamically, saying that if it's going bad, we can reduce the price from the software side. We don't need to do anything for the actual package. It's just a change in the software saying that, okay, the price was 10 euros, now because it's going bad, it's 5 euros. And it can actually send automated messages to the people that are buying those products. We can do tracking. Tracking is involved, for example, in food safety. It's really important if we look at, for example, China, where has been some issues with food safety. So we can track that the food is actually coming from the right place. And when we talk about packaging, it's always about marketing, because it's a consumer product. So we can add valuable digital content in the packaging. Now you will ask, okay, what kind of content? That's what normally everybody does. I don't know. It differs. For a food company, it could be dynamic recipes. When you buy this package, every day you will get a new recipe, or it could be something else. And that's why we need to work with the advertising agencies and creative agencies to come up with the best kind of solutions. And of course, we will going to have mobile apps in most of the cases where we communicate with the packaging. But the best thing about this is we can all do it with the same unique code. That's kind of what we do, but I will come back to that later on. Then I think for you guys, it's really important to understand also the whole world where we're living, or the tech we're living in right now. So for example, mobile phones. This year there's going to be 2 billion smartphone users. 2020, so 4 years from now, there's going to be 6.2 billion smartphone users. In fact, we're not going to call those smartphones, and there's going to be just phones, like normal phones. And this is a really, really huge crowd of people having devices. It basically means that the whole infrastructure exists already. We all have scanners in our pockets. But I'm going to take this a bit further because, well, being a CEO of a tech company means that you need to look into the future, not on today. So in the future, we will have mixed or augmented reality. Who knows what augmented reality means? Half of the people, roughly. Okay. I'm not going to say how it will happen, what kind of device will win, but if we just look at the companies who are working with augmented and mixed reality, who are investing in augmented and mixed reality. We have Google. We know that Google Glass failed, as it was in the previous, but they are still investing in it. Then we have Facebook on Oculus Rift. We have Microsoft, Snapchat with spectacles, which are a bit between. They are not really augmented reality, but it's quite safe to say that in future we will have some kind of augmented solutions on top of our vision. And you can imagine what that will do to packaging. It will basically give us a user interface without a keyboard. Just by looking at a package, it will tell you the information that you need to know. That's kind of the future where we are headed right now. Of course, today and a couple of years from now, we will still use smartphones to many of those things. But I would say in 5 to 7 years, we all will have some kind of, I don't know if it's not probably glasses, but it's some kind of device on our head. And I think the really big change is that it will be really personal. When you go to a retail store in the future, it will be personally made for you. It will take the information that it has already. For example, let's take Facebook. Let's say Facebook wins the kind of augmented reality war. They already know everything about you. They know what color you like, they know your friends, they know everything basically. And when you go to a store, Facebook could take that information and say that, okay, you like the color blue. Let's make all the packages bluish. And you like to eat vegetables, so let's bring up the vegetables and leave the meat out of the picture. And these kind of things. So that's going to be a really, really massive change for the packaging industry. The funny thing is that technology is moving so fast that if you want to get on board on this, you need to get on board right now to be able to do it in a few years. Well, Europe as a tech part we are a bit behind comparing to US, and that's why I'm here to speak for you guys that, hey, come on, we need to actually do something before the Silicon Valley people owns the whole world. But I would like to leave you, this is the future part. I would like to leave you with this kind of idea. Think about it, what it would mean that if everybody had an augmented reality Googles on their head, what it would mean for packaging. And this is kind of the future that we are aiming for in our job. So what do we actually do? What is MagicAd? So MagicAd is a technology startup. We were founded 2014. The whole project started 2010, but the company was established 2014. Currently, we have 2 offices in Finland, in Turku and in Helsinki, and 1 in London. And we have been growing quite fast. We are a privately funded company, and honestly saying we are in the top 3 smart packaging companies in the world. And what are we trying to do, or what are we trying to solve? The biggest question in smart packaging right now is that how do we actually cost effectively integrate the smart solutions into packaging? Like I said, if you have 700 billion units and you make it, make the price go up 10 cents, it's going to be too expensive. 700 million, not gonna fly. That's the kind of reality we're facing, and that's the discussion. Everybody understands the benefits, but they also understand the cost. So how do we solve this? We make the packages unique and machine readable, which means that we don't make the packages actually smart. We just make them machine readable, and then we build a software which can dynamically handle the data which is incorporated to that unique ID. And that's what we do. We build the software behind the system. We don't do packaging. We don't even print the code. We just do the software behind it. And we don't actually even need to create the unique code. Somebody else can do that. We just manage the codes and the data and the content behind it. So coming back to the picture, what we do is we do what's in the middle. We build the cloud-based software solution. That's kind of, all of these are different parts of our software. We can do the tracking, we can do the content management, we can do the product information handling, and so on. But we don't do it alone. So we work with a company called UPM Raflatac on labels. They had a revenue last year roughly 12 billion. On disposable packaging, we are working with Huhtamäki. They had a revenue of 2.3 billion. They work with companies like McDonald's, Costa Coffee, and so on. UPM works with Unilever, Procter & Gamble. Basically, all the biggest brands in the world. Then our London partner, Karmarama, was just sold last week to Accenture Digital to be one of the biggest global networks in advertising and creative agency side. Then we have partners in coding, so we can scale our coding. And we have really, really good lawyers, as you can imagine. Working with the big corporations, you need to have really, really good lawyers. That's what we have learned. So this is kind of, like I said in the first place, you need to be able to work with different kind of players. And it took us 4 years to understand how a big packaging corporation works. And there is 3 kind of main things that we are now driving within Internet of Packaging. These are not going to be the last ones, but these are the kind of most easy to understand and most easy to implement is authenticity. So when every of those packages, when they're unique, you can check if this unique code is actually authentic. That's quite a obvious one. Then you can have the connectivity. So when it goes to the hands of consumers, you can have valuable digital content, or we like to talk about valuable digital services on top. Let's say you have a product, a food product related to sports. Well, it's quite easy to come up with this idea that, okay, let's do a digital service that can support using that food product. And then we have controllability. This is more about the tracking and food safety. And like I said, the great big part of it, we can use the same code to do all of this. So in the first phase, when the product is in the logistic chain, we can use the code for tracking and for authenticity. When it goes to consumer, we can just give out the content and not show, for example, tracking data. So that's what we do. And this is my last slide. I normally tend to be faster given the timeline. But this is a kind of roadmap that I have been preaching all over Europe, how we should do it, in my opinion. Well, first, learn to work together. We have now learned in 6 years how to actually do it, how to work with. What does big corporations need? What does big global brands need? And so on. What's the cost? And so on, and so on, and so on. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is actually doing it. Come up with the ways how we can make it unique. How can we have a machine-readable coding with the acceptable cost level done on packaging. And of course, then attaching the data to the packages, it's a totally different stream than just having the unique codes in the package. You need to then have the data. So you need to do some software integrations. Then you need to come up with the best use cases. Now we have 3. But the 5th point is the most important. When we have enough data in the packages, what we would do and need to do, in my opinion, and this is a really, really interesting question for the big global brands, and is are they brave enough to open that data to developers? Because if we do that, this ecosystem would be kind of like App Store. So right now we're building the App Store, the kind of core functionality of App Store. But App Store isn't anything without the apps. And how you actually globally come up with the best use cases is not by trying to figure it out by yourself or with your advertising agency. It's about kind of opening up the whole system. Let the masses come up with the best solutions. And that's kind of the 5th and most important phase of Internet of Packaging. And this will hopefully come in 2 to 3 years, where we have enough data to open it to the developers. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you.